There are so many manga that I read during my teenage years, along with books and movies. Some anime that really changed something in me, influencing my future self deeply, maybe more than I'll ever understand. But there is one manga that I read something more than a year ago that I felt I didn't understand deeply at the time. And that now, reading it again, after making it past a couple of things in life, I guess I'm starting to understand better. Since you clicked this thumbnail, you already know, but the manga is Berserk. With this video, my goal would be to start a project of rediscovery of Miura's masterpiece. But since it's so deep and so full of possible motifs and thematic hubs, I decided to analyze it sort of step by step. This time around, I'll cover the beginning of the story, and I'll try to explain to you why Berserk has the best start you could possibly expect. But first of all, a brief introduction to it. Berserk is a seinen manga written by Miura Kentaro, which started publishing it with Akusensha in its Jets comic collection in 1990, before it moved to the Young Animal magazine in 1992. The absolute protagonist of the story is Gatsu, a relatively young man with a sword, considered by the narrator to be too big to be called thus. Massive, thick, heavy, and far too rough, a heap of raw iron. The so-called Dragon Slayer has become, with time, a sort of objective correlative of the struggle, the pain and the burden, of Gatsu himself, and of all of those characters and words which took inspiration from Berserk. Two very famous examples in the gaming world are Final Fantasy VII, just think about Cloud's Buster Sword, and from soft games, since in Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and Elden Ring there are weapons that resemble the Dragon Slayer. Anyways, back to the main topic. What's Gatsu's struggle? At the beginning of the story we really know nothing about his life, his suffering, what led him to the point when the manga starts. But from his appearance, you can already tell that he went through a lot. You just don't know what. The manga starts in the middle of the action. The Black Swordman, as he names himself, seems like a man on a mission. He is fierce, sure of himself, inhumanly strong, even sort of scary, terrifying. Since the first page of the manga, we get to know that the dark and mysterious world Gatsu lives in is inhabited by demonic creatures. He knows them, and he knows how to fight them. We soon also get to know that some of them, like the Snake Lord he fights in Koka, and the Count he fights later on, are called apostles, beings who have acquired and activated a Berit in a moment of anguish, summoned the God End, and joined the ranks of demonkind in exchange for a very costly sacrifice. But now, many questions arise in the reader's mind. What's a Berit? What's the God End? What does Gatsu know about them? But most of all, when did he come in contact with them in the first place? All these questions are partially left unanswered, even at the end of Volume 3, when we just get a very little hint at Gatsu's past. And that's when the second arc, the Golden Age, takes flight. But that will be material for another video analysis. The atmosphere, the characters, except for Puck, are heavy, dark. The only other ally Gatsu makes in the first stage of the story is a crippled man who's been tortured by the Count, Vargas. The Count is a cruel ruler, feverishly hunting for heretics to kill, with a daughter, Theresia, that's been secluded up in a tower after he's become an apostle. Gatsu feels no compassion for nobody, not even for the diminutive man who's been abused and deprived of his family. This tough and stoic behavior seems to hide something more, something the reader is not quite meant to understand so soon. During the fight with the Count, after he's transformed into a gigantic slug-like being, we see a first valuable example of Miura's ability in drawing. It's no news that Berserk's panels have always been some of the best in the history of manga, and their fullness fulfills their role of conveying an hollow and gloomy atmosphere. During the fight, we also get to see that for how strong he can be, Gatsu is still human. He feels pain, the struggle against godly creatures that are apparently out of his league. And, this time around at least, he doesn't win because of his skills, but because of his smartness. He takes Theresia as a hostage and deals a nearly fatal blow to the Comslug. The abominable creature fears for its life and manages to trigger the Berit's powers. Here the peak. the most important moment of the arc. Gatsu, the Count, Pac and Tarisha are face to face with the God End. Gatsu seems to consider only one of the 5 members, Femto, that he calls multiple times Griffith, but he seems unable to even get in touch with him, deal any damage. The Count, after summoning the God End, should offer something he really cares about in order to save his own life, and he fails to sacrifice his daughter. He is thus dragged into a mysterious place, called the Abyss. Here we get to know about the meaning of the brand on the back of Gatsu's neck. He's already been in front of the God End, and he's been offered as a ritual sacrifice, but somehow managed to survive. That's why demons keep on hunting for him. He's condemned, yet he's alive. He's fighting against something apparently undefeatable, and yet again, he's only human. Gatsu carries the heaviest burden, and has learned to be hard with himself and his life since he was born, in an already badly ominous circumstance. Thus, the swordsman gets back to the physical world, and cursed yet again, keeps on moving forward, with a journey that's probably not meant to end. At least not that soon.